Welcome. You're with the Nasty Pastor, and I'm back with another extra, extra, extra. And this extra today is from the book, The Kemet Egyptian Gods. I'm on the introduction. This will be part 2. And basically, I'm giving an understanding what a god is. And these gods that are pointed out are from Kemet. You get what I'm saying? They are from the days of Kemet, the beginning of the dynasty. You get what I'm saying? The beginning of the legacy, the beginning of the civilization, the culture, the structure, the root. You get what I'm saying? The root of the culture. So what I'm gonna say to you is this right here. You know what I mean? Buckle up, pay attention, and really get a good understanding of how you are perceived and your understanding of what a god is and what a goddess is. People interacted with the gods on their own through prayer and rituals, but it was more like magic than a form of religion. The spiritual religion of the people was nonetheless very similar to the spiritual religion practiced by the pharaoh. Now we are spiritual. Hands up. I don't see where religion is in this. You get what I'm saying? I don't see where religion is in this. This is straight direct, worshiping, praying, evolving straight with Amun. You get what I'm saying? Straight with the supreme creator of all of this. Depending on the strength of the pharaoh's status or ordinary people varied their emphasis on either state religion or their own practices. Usually your own practices is what? Spiritual, right? That's a key word right there. Well, that's a key, those are key words, own practices. In general, if the pharaoh's policies and actions produce significant benefits, the people were more likely to look at him as having the favor of the gods, and they will follow his spiritual religious practices. We know a great deal about this ancient culture due to the deep integration of spiritual religion into the lives of the people during that period. For thousands of years, Kemet Egyptian art and architecture reflected the images and the characteristics ascribed to the gods. The Kemet Egyptian pantheon numbered over 100 major gods, but they were not all of equal importance. Now you're going to tell me you're not a god? You're going to tell me you're not a goddess? How can you allow anyone to tell you what you're not? How can you? See, most people of not understanding want you to perform a miracle. You get me? The miracle is the understanding. The miracle is knowing that something higher. You get what I'm saying? There is something higher than mankind. That's the miracle. That's the evolvement. You get what I'm saying? That's when you have evolved from man to a god or a goddess. If one includes minor deities, the number rockets to over 1,000. 1,000. So upon this rock today, don't you think we're in the multi-millions of knowing? Huh? If not in the millions of knowing? Come on. Gods that represented more culturally significant aspects of life had more worshippers and more attention. Those particular gods also had more stories and tales told about them, leading to a greater sense of backstory. That is, people had a much greater familiarity with some gods than with others. The importance of any one particular god changed over time. The characteristics of gods also changed subtly or were merged with other gods. Kemet Egyptian religion of the time was not as static and unchanging as one might think. Now, if I'm accurate and I'm sure about what I'm gonna read when we get into these gods that they're pointing out in this book I'm reading, these gods had strength, ability and mastery. You get me? That is being a god to me. Strength, ability, and mastery. You get it? Now, wouldn't you want a chef to cook you something nice when you out on the outing? Or would you rather for someone that can't cook at all? Would you rather for the hunter of our civilization not know anything? Don't know that you have to drain the deer of blood before you even eat it? You know, there's a certain way you have to fish. There are certain fish that you have to watch out for. There are certain places that you have to go in to fish instead of being out there all day. Come on now. Farmers, there's a certain way you have to farm. There's certain crop you plant during the year. You get what I'm saying? You understand? Wouldn't you want someone that mastered it, be able to do it? Cool. Like all peoples, the Kemet Egyptians were most enthralled by the core aspects of life, sex, birth, death, and the afterlife. Now we call Isis the mother of fertility because she mastered bringing life into this world. That's a god. I mean, that's a goddess. You understand me? Warfare, bloodshed, illness, diseases, and the natural order also figure heavily in the makeup of the Kemet Egyptian pantheon. The gods of the crops, the earth, and home knowledge, learning, and war and death also figured prominently. The creation of existence, or the creation myth, had several variations in ancient Kemet Egyptian history. Each variant is quite different from the others, and the gods responsible for making the world are different in each story. Each major city in Kemet, Egypt advocated for their gods being the primary movers in the creation, so the stories vary. However, all Kemet Egyptian religious spirituality groups had the same creation myth. The world arose out of chaos, represented by water. Now we know the water represent what? The beast came up from out the water, not Satan, not Amun, right? The beast comes from out of the water, right? Cool. Dry land described order and structure. From the dry land developed the sun called Ra, and Ra was the first recognized ruler and lawgiver. Now I say this to you, you know what I mean? We know that sun dehydrate, right? We know that sun can kill you, right? So how do you pray to something that can kill you? You get me? Kill you. Now we know, let's get into Amun. Let's get into the supreme creator. We know that praying to Amun, if we die, it's because we did this to ourselves, right? It's not nothing that Amun has done, but you're not following the message. You're not following the word, right? But you go out here and you stand in that sun for 24 hours or however long it be, 12 hours, chances are you're going on to this hospital in the now of dehydration, right? Come on, of dehydration, right? I don't care how much cloth you put on. I don't care how much sunscreen you put on. You going somewhere of dehydration, right? Good. To live in balance with nature meant appeasing Ra. Come on now. Appeasing. For those of you that know what appeasing means, we have to what? Appease Amun, right? We have to follow Amun's teachings also, right? So you have to follow Satan's teachings also if there's going to be a balance, right? If you're following Ra, you have to appease Ra also, right? Right? Cool. It's the same thing with Amun. You have to follow a righteous path. However, another tradition heavily favored by the people of the city of Hermopolis indicates that a proto-god named Atum already existed in the waters of creation. The beast. You get me? The beast. When he came forth out of the waters, He created 8 other gods, then 9 gods formed the Abdo and a small group of old gods. These gods existed alongside humanity in what was a storied golden age of humanity that was and is entirely mythical. An ethnic time when gods live side by side with humanity is a hoary cultural tradition, and over time the concepts of Ra and Atum became merged into Ra Atum. So what that tell you? If Ra is Satan, if Ra is the devil, things was lined up with Atum, the beast, and that's why the great flood happened, because there was chaos. Atum was used for evil. Another pantheon of original and very ancient gods was the Ennead, which was made up of Atum as the chief god and Isis, Ra, Osiris, Geb, Nut, Tefnut, Shu, Nephthys, and Horus as the lesser gods. Over time, the Ennead tradition and the Abdo overlapped so much they merged. Unlike many other cultures' creation stories, the origin of humanity does not feature prominently in Egyptian Kemet mythos. Some brief stories says the tears of Ra Atum created the first humans. Like most creation myths, the origins of humanity are rooted in the sadness and sorrow. The creation of the universe had 4 main stories in ancient Kemet Egyptian mythology. From the separation of the universe into chaos and order came the establishment of Ma'at. Ma'at, or Mahat, encompasses the Kemet Egyptian views on life, death, morality, justice, truth, order, chaos, and right living. Now you see what side Ma'at was on, right? Cool. Ma'at was the overarching concept of what the Kemet Egyptians perceived as their cultural imperative. To perceive Ma'at was to ensure blessings. To deviate was to risk bringing the wrath of gods down on one's disobedient head. Now let me explain something to you about that lesser god, Heru, Horus. Now, you know, Heru, Horus killed Seth, his uncle, in vengeance for Seth killing his father, Osiris. You get what I'm saying? You get it? All right, let's keep going. Before we begin our exploration of the gods of ancient Kemet Egypt, it's important to understand that which gods got the most attention varied from place to place, city to city, and village to village. A very popular god in Heliopolis might not be quite as familiar in Thebes. The peoples of different cities value different deities to greater or lesser degrees. Those gods worshipped at Thebes might be slightly different from those at Memphis or Heliopolis. Remember, at this time in history, travel was far more difficult, and differences between the cultures in each city would sometimes be significant. The popularity of different gods rose and fell with time and with the fortunes of the Kemet Egyptian people. Kemet Egyptian deities had both a male and a female aspect. A god had a counterpart goddess, with a pair being responsible for much of the same general concepts with variations particular to each. As well, some gods or goddesses had a different aspect. For example, the goddess Ma'at, order, balance, harmony, is opposed by Asphet, chaos, evil. Now, when you look at some of these images, it's mostly women praying and worshiping the sun, right? Okay, so I ask you gods this. Give what I have to say an understanding. Our goddesses have their own aspect. I don't know if we're ever going to change it. I don't know if they're ever going to see things the way us gods see it. We may come to some agreement. You get what I'm saying? Some agreement. But I don't think we're going to come to 100% full agreement. So I ask you gods to really buckle down. Pay attention. Get some understanding. So we will have a parallel understanding, and we could continue. You get me? We could continue a righteous path into heaven, into the afterlife, if that's better to say. Sometimes these oppositions are not complete. In other words, it's not always a good God versus evil God dynamic. A God of health and fertility does not have a direct opposite of sterility, but the Kemet Egyptians did have a God of dry air and parched land where nothing could grow. Figuratively, these two stand in opposition. The gods of the Kemet Egyptians were not as enduring in characteristics as one might think of a god. The functions of some gods sometimes overlap the functions of the others, and over the millennia, some gods merged with others. For example, Ra was merged with Horus in one later dynasty, creating Ra Harakti. Now, I'm going to say this to you. Do you understand the story of Eru, Heru, Horus? They're the same people, different names. Do you understand the story? Okay. Eru, Heru, Horus figured there's good in our soul and there's bad in our soul, and you need to make a conscious decision. That is the balance, making a conscious decision. Well, the balance is you have good and you have evil, but you have to choose. You get what I'm saying? You have to choose and weigh your deeds as light as a feather. So if you're going to dibble in the evil side of deeds, you better make it very short. You better make it very small. You get what I'm saying? It better be the size of some spit. It better be the size of a mustard seed. It better be not weighing heavier than a feather. So I'd rather get into the what? The righteous side of this culture. Ra and Re are the same. Sometimes the single animal for one god's icon was used by another. For example, Horus was typically represented by a man with the head of a hawk. However, depending on the context of the symbolism, the deity might indeed be Ra. Now, if I see Ra as the devil, and you're listening, you're viewing this, and you see Ra as the devil, and what you know about Horus, Eru, Heru, that means Ra changed his ways, right? That means the devil tried to change his ways, right? That means the devil changed his ways, right? Come on. I rest my case. I rest it right there. I'm going to heaven. I'm going to the afterlife of the good afterlife. I'm asking you, even our goddesses, wake up. You've been bamboozled by money. Wake up. You've been bamboozled by a life that you feel that you could never have, that we're not to have upon this rock. And you may say to yourself, who said we are not supposed to have upon this rock? Amun. That who said? That right there. We are supposed to put more time into morals and principles instead of money, lies, money and lies. Let's continue. As well, you'll find that the gods of a settlement or town mirrored aspects of a major god. Sometimes piece for piece, yet had a different name, a different icon, and they even had a different origin story. That was one of the differences between the major gods and the minor gods, as well as a variation from national god to local god. The Egyptian Kemet pantheon was huge. There were gods of particular locales that were very obscure, such as a hill or a small stream. An overarching major god might have been the god of all streams and hills, but a local god would have watched over that particular area. Now, do you understand local? You get what I'm saying? That's, you know, when you're dealing with the pharaoh is the major god. The general of that army that is out there patrolling would be your what? Local god. You get me? Look, I just want to break some stuff down to you, you know what I mean, right quick. You saw the devil ride by here, right? I'm going to give the devil some time. You saw the devil ride by here twice, right? I really felt like sticking my leg out. I wouldn't have minded if the wheels would have went over my legs, right? But made him fall on his head. I really did. But in my journey, in my path in life, you get what I'm saying? I'll be wrong and I wouldn't win with whom I pray to. That ain't nothing but the devil. You get it? can see what's going on, want to interrupt what's going on because of the message. You get me? The message I have to give. Once again, I say to you this right here. You're with the nasty pastor. This been an extra from my reading, the Kemet Egyptian gods. I love you. I see you next time with part 3.